What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Push to Talk. It's been a while. I am Sinister Pixel, here with Sir Crackerbowl, and today's special guest, introducing Ulf Andersson.
Hey.
All right, and I think this time we're doing it a little bit differently from when we did the Pete Gold interview. It's not going to be really a question and answer thing. It's going to be more sort of discussion-y.
Okay.
Essentially, what's going to happen is it's basically a free stage for you to talk about whatever you want to promote in this case. I mean, we will have questions to ask you,
Yeah, sure.
obviously, but
We're not
Within
essentially,
promoting
reason.
much though, but yeah.
Within reason.
all right. So I believe Ben, you were talking about some things you wanted to start off with asking.
Oh, I think probably the best place to start really would be what got you into games really, Ulf?
That's a long story, but
That's great. You can fill out some time here.
yeah, because it was been a while since I started. Our family got an Amiga back in the day. I don't know the year, but I was like in first grade, I think, like the first
Jesus
day
Christ, that
of
is going
school,
back.
whatever. And we started to play a game called Fairy Tale. Me, my brother, and my dad. Basically, I think it was more them playing and me watching, and sort of building a hunger to play myself, you could say.
So it was kind of like the first ever Let's Play.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think that the one thing that got me into development was. Do you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, cool. I think it was Another World. I wouldn't say platformer, but like an adventure.
Oh yeah, I know
That
that game.
game.
I know that game.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
going back.
Yeah. So when playing that, upon completing it, I think it was, I checked out the credits and I saw that it was basically one dude and like, the music is made by one guy and then the rest of the game was made by this other guy. And I sort of felt, if he can do it, I could. Like that sort of opened doors for me. So I started off just doing, art. I've started pixeling in like Deluxe Paint, which is another like really old dinosaur program. But actually, I pixeled before I could read, so I started fairly early with that, and I didn't learn to read up until fairly late. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
but yeah, so having that in mind, and then I actually stopped with computers for like a year or something when I got like into the teenage era. And then I got back. I started freelancing, I think, or trying to freelance around 14, 15, something like that.
You said trying. How did that go?
Well, I got fucked over basically a couple of times, but well, you never got paid.
Yeah.
Basically, that was the issue. But this was like when the modding communities just started to bloom up and stuff like that. So a lot of hustling going down, I could say. So I did a lot of Doom stuff, like Doom modding and Quake modding, and we started Grin basically on a demo, which was basically Unreal on the Unreal Engine without a license, just like hacking away and doing like a top-down shooter thing. So we got the investment on that, and then we threw that out like the first day and did Ballistics, which was our first game. And then I did that for 12 years, and then Overkill, and then a bit of Starbreeze, and now 10 Chambers.
Right. Well, you said I was reading. I believe I responded to you on Twitter about this a while ago. It was when you said that the concept for Payday and Payday 2 was like half of like your initial like what you initially visualized. So
Yeah.
what was it exactly that you visualized, and that's what I'm curious about because like this personally up like Payday and Payday 2 were games I really enjoyed.
Hmm.
Um and like hearing you say, well, that's actually about 50% of the concept that I'd initially envisioned. I want to know what is it exactly that we're missing here. That's had me curious ever since I saw you
Yeah.
tweet it.
Yeah, well, I think, going into all those details, I think that it's going to be more fun to experience that in the future instead. It's not going to be a heist game, of course, but a lot of what I considered or consider, you know, stuff that I want to do is going to show up in future games I make, of course.
Mm.
So, but for Payday, I think, I mean, there's a bunch of obvious stuff that you can guess, but I can't really go into all the detail because some stuff is documented and most of it isn't. At
It's kind of in your
Starburst.
head. So
Yes, yeah.
I,
So, and the stuff that's documented, which I don't know which is which, basically, I can't talk about. So it's like a minefield for me.
okay. I think one thing personally for me which set apart the Payday games from everything else was that you've got a lot of four-player co-op games, but the thing that set Payday apart for me was the whole sort of it's a lot more objective focused than other games, is what I
Mm.
noticed. For example, you've got games for Left 4 Dead 2 or whatever, or more recently Vermintide, which
Mhm.
will be you going through a map. Essentially, there's not really any objective except get to the other side, and sort of there are small things in the way. With Payday, that was kind of the entire different concept. It was an entirely different concept. You go at any point of the map at any time, and there was always something to do at every different point of the map.
Mm.
Was this part of your initial concept, or did it just happen to fall into place?
A bit of both. I've always been more leaning towards the random stuff and the sort of dynamic scenarios, while other people at Overkill was more leaning towards the sort of scripted storytelling stuff.
Hmm.
I'm more of a systematic sort of designer myself, so I tend to move to those areas.
It's kind of whatever seems appropriate at the time.
Yeah, well, it's what I want from a game is to experience. Um, it's hard to describe, but let's say this. I want to experience this. Like the ultimate goal for me is to experience the same thing every time I play the game.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Like if I can, when you play like a single player game first time,
Yeah.
first map, or it could be a cooperative too. But you don't know where the enemies are, you don't know the layout, you don't know anything basically.
And you kind of see something that makes you like, oh wow.
Yeah, and you keep exploring and you experience stuff, and you have that sort of like that playthrough is completely different from if you, let's say, play that map again,
Yeah.
because then you know a lot more, and depending on what game it is and how varied it is or how random it is, it's gonna change up that thing and bring you actually closer to the first playthrough.
So
So the ultimate goal is to have that constant first playthrough because that's the best one.
yeah, I can think of a lot of times where, there, for example, going back to Payday again, there are a lot of maps that Ben and I would have done like a million times before, but then something would always come and surprise us. I can think of one particular time, Ben. Two bulldozers. Do you remember that time?
That Big Bang.
Yeah, that was Big Bang.
Yep.
Two bulldozers, and the first time I ever saw someone get cuffed in the game.
So, actually, talking about cuffing, with Payday the Heist, I remember cuffing being quite a big thing.
Yeah.
But in Payday 2, it was very, very rare.
Yeah.
Was that down to something in the system, or was it meant for like a stealth-only kind of approach?
I'd say this: the balance of Payday 2 uh, drifted, I think, too much into action compared to the heist.
Mm.
So the goal was always from my point of view, and also from I think David's point of view, was sort of try to make it as basically if you could stay in the stage where you're not in combat, like the pre-combat stage, basically where you're dealing with hostages and where all the sort of tension builds up. The longer you can stay there and have shit to do, the better the game will be. In our opinion, because the drama payoff will be so much more. And I think the game drifted towards more of the actiony part, where if you complete a mission, you have killed 1,000 cops, which is to me broken in a lot of ways, because you lose the respect for the enemy, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of police department throws 1,000 cops at a small bank?
And what to consider also.
Send in the turrets.
From release to now, the game has also, from where I'm standing, because I haven't worked on it since release, really.
Yeah.
So from where I'm standing, there's a big big change in direction.
Yeah.
I don't know who's doing the direction, so I can't.
I definitely get what you're saying, because one of the things which I always get with Payday at the moment is, are we really the bad guy at this point? Because normally in games you have that kind of idea of just the enemy will keep going because they're the enemy. While in Payday it is meant to be cops, but because there's so many, like you were saying, it's just killing thousands and thousands and thousands of cops.
Yeah.
The idea of you being the bad guy just kind of disappears at a point. You're just shooting the enemy like a normal game.
Essentially, it's like you're just shooting stormtroopers.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Talking about Payday, I've got to ask, because Wolf is my favourite character in Payday.
Yeah.
I never knew originally you were one of the developers. I knew you were high up in the company, but then when I found out, I'm just curious, how did you get to become Wolf?
Oh, long story, and I can't remember all the details, but okay. We in the first game we didn't have money. That was a big issue for us. Like, the economy was a big issue. So we, having a lot of experience from other projects and a lot of voice acting stuff, we set out to sort of. I think it was me and Simon who sort of came up with the idea to use, in-house people for at least 2 characters, and I think initially it was just for the Bane character, for Simon, then just to be able to say, okay, let's record the other guys, and then if there's some change, because we do a lot of iterative improvements on levels and stuff like that. So if there's some changes, you want to go back and record it. But if you do it with a voice actor, that's going to cost you a lot, and it's going to be a lot of hassle. It won't be as fast, and you can't test stuff out because it's going to cost you money. And suddenly, quality isn't your first priority. Suddenly, your economy is your first priority. So by doing that, we could do a lot of stuff with the in-house, but then me ending up as a voice actor, I think, if I remember it correctly, and this might be, there's always different versions of this story, I think, but it sort of worked like this. We did some in-house recordings for the certain game mechanics, like all the stuff you hear in the heist, basically, get the fuck down and blah blah blah, all that kind of urgency stuff, where it's like I'm low on health or I need ammo, and because we needed to try a bunch of that stuff and also do a bunch of interaction with Bane. So we had some other internal guys do it, and it sounded awful. So we re-recording it with me, and that sort of worked out.
I've still got this weird image in my head because I'm listening to your voice now, which I haven't heard your normal voice much. Yeah. So you sound really sort of calm, sort of collected, and I'm just thinking this is the same person I've heard literally screaming to their voice hurt, Cloaker.
Yeah.
It's so strange right now. Like, what was the initial reaction when you went into a recording booth, you started recording lines, and you just came out with like that?
Well, we've done some stuff, me and Simon, before, which is sort of doing mock-ups for voice actors. So you basically do, okay, we need something like this, and then you send it out and try to find somebody who does a similar, has a similar voice or similar acting. It's a sort of a way of directing voice actors to saying, okay, we record it, sort of find the style we want, and then we use that material as an example for people when looking for people, or if you use a talent agency or whatever. So we've done this on a really old project called Bandits, and back then we didn't have any money either, so we used a similar approach. So I think we ended up naturally doing that. But then when you do to go back to your question, when you do the screaming stuff or the urgency stuff, it's just where if you first establish a normal voice, right, and then you go up one level for some urgency, and then you add another 2 steps on top of that, and to be able to reach that higher step, you really need to use some power, basically. And also desperation in combination with that, and just to have some sort of, sort of like a palette for the other guys to work from. But we ended up actually looking for a wolf character at some point. And we had some sort of, I didn't know if it was a vote or anything like that, but it was like people could choose internally, or like say which one they thought was the best. And I ended up being the best wolf anyway, internally. So
no arguments here.
But I can't remember the exact response from me screaming my ass off. But I remember my.
I would have loved to have been there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that I missed out on. Seeing that, sitting there at a recording session.
Yeah. We'll record that someday so people can see how that's done. But basically, the approach is you got to start. You start with the screaming, like the second highest tier of screaming, and then you go back to acting and doing all that shit.
So it's like eventually you go to S tier screams.
Well, then you go back to that to the highest one, because I will always sort of destroy my voice at that point.
Yes, I remember hearing about the Christmas song you did last year. Apparently, you really injured yourself.
No, that was more of a joke, I think, from Simon's part. But it was, you get some, taste the blood and stuff like that. But it's not.
Oh God!
Taste the blood, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, but that's just if you've done any sort of, singing, like rock singing or anything with some heavy dist on it,
Screamo.
That's what you get. Yeah, you get that kind of blood taste. It's not like you're coughing blood or anything. It tastes blood. But it's good for your cords in the end. You get stronger every time. So.
All right. So how about we move on to one of the big questions? 10 chambers. Regarding that, first thing I'm going to ask before we get into anything 10 chambers related. What are the ambiguous tweets about the photographs?
Yeah, that. I remember talking to Val quite a few times. I think I showed you when we were in town once, but because I follow you and your main 10 Chambers Twitter, I'll just see from time to time we're getting closer, and it's just these caverns. Is that where your headquarters is, or is this leading up to something?
I sort of jokingly said, "Oh, they've already started development of the game, and they're really good graphics, and that's actually just a screenshot from the game."
Well, some of that stuff will show up in the new game. So it's from sort of a trip we did
Is it kind of like I know a lot of places in Payday were based on real locations. Is that kind of like the same thing then?
Yeah, you do a lot of location scouting. I mean, in the beginning, you can do that kind of stuff just to get like an idea of a certain location. Like mining tunnels isn't something you
Yeah,
usually.
I'm looking at that picture right now, and I'm very excited to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I'm literally on your. I've got the Ten Chambers Twitter open in front of me.
It's not gonna be a Minecraft copy, is it?
No, 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 no. I mean, it's gonna be this new one is a cooperative, really hardcore cooperative game.
Yeah.
So it's gonna require a lot of teamwork. We're setting out to doing something that's it's not meant to be like a single player in any shape or form. It's just a cooperative, and we'd rather hit like a smaller audience, but like the right audience that gets this type of game. So no Minecraft. I didn't even know how to do that. So
Well, you know, I know a couple of YouTubers who, you know, if you ever want to give, early access like or beta keys out to anyone, I know a couple of loyal fans you could give those out to.
Yeah. I know a bunch too. But of course we'll do that in due time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see
Sounds
what
good.
happens.
But yeah.
So another question I would have is the name Ten Chambers.
Yeah.
Where?
Well, in every company I've been a part of, it sort of grows into this uncontrollable mass of people, and I just hate that because I like to know everybody I work with.
So there's
And
only 10 people in your company.
yes.
Ah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
I didn't actually know that.
That's pretty cool. I like
So
that.
the limit, we said the limit is 10, right? So we haven't filled all the slots yet. Like there's people waiting, sort of.
Is one going to be Vikland?
But we haven't officially filled all the slots.
Where do I apply to be the community manager?
That's actually already filled.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't have like a dedicated community manager because we believe that it should be the team.
yeah.
So we're gonna handle that stuff. We're gonna have somebody running the 10 chambers and the sort of everyday type stuff.
Yeah.
But then forum stuff will be developers because I'm so tired of. I'm just tired of. I'm a gamer myself, and I'm just community managers. I don't like it. It doesn't feel like you're talking to the actual developer anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can understand that.
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from.
And I think the best thing about the whole 10 chambers, like, essentially each bullet is an employee. You can, like, make a really good pun on firing them.
Exactly, easy to fire. That's why it's 10 chambers.
I'm pulling the trigger on you. No, please.
There's a bunch of reasons why it's 10 chambers, but it means basically for everybody in the team currently it means a different thing, but it's sort of based around since it's a collective, it's an extremely flat organization, and right now there is some, depending on who's directing or who's creatively sort of controlling a project, that person will of course be in charge of or be more of a contact for that project, or everybody will sort of ask that person questions. So in that sense, it isn't as flat as you might think.
So
But
essentially, it's like made of 10 core people, but there is, if you got big or something, there would be expansion, except they'd be like sort of working underneath. Is that kind of what you're saying?
no, actually, we if we're gonna do anything that's bigger, we're gonna work with outsourcing.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't intend to design anything that we can't execute ourselves. But we might end up being, 11 or 12. But it's a constant reminder to not go above 10. And it's a constant sort of goal to always try to contract to 10, basically. Because like I said before, it's suddenly you're 15 and then you're 25, and when you're 25, you could just as well go to 45, and then you're
And
100.
at that point, you're kind of thinking, wait, there's no gun which has this many.
You're basically turning into an assault rifle at that point.
Yeah, but it's basically where it's like when we go above 10, we look stupid, and we feel stupid about it. So the 11th member has to be fucking awesome, to motivate that. So every member
He's like the
has to
reserve
pull.
ammo.
Every member has to sort of generate more for the quality of the project. You see,
Yeah.
it's not just an addition; it has to be, times or an exponential increase in quality.
I like that. I like that concept as well.
That's actually a really clever way to look at it.
I think also if you keep that number down, it means it makes, like you said, it makes it easier to communicate with the community.
Yeah,
Ideas
everybody
such-
knows everybody on the project, so they can relate depending on what they're interested in. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but it's also where it just becomes a lot more manageable, and we'd rather make smaller games and take more time than be more people.
Essentially, quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
like for easy.
From the slogan, if you read that on the homepage.
Hang on, let me actually have a look here. Yeah. Inspire, manipulate, collaborate, or complete. Quality or quantity. In life, friendship is, and in all things we create, its passion is quality. Oh. It's been a while since I've been to the homepage, since I literally only went there to do the ambassador thing, like a couple of months ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. We don't have an interest right now in updating it, so it's just gonna stay like that for a while.
Yeah.
But we're interested in making our game right now, so that's what
Yeah.
we're gonna do. And also looping back to the sort of tunnel images, where we had a bunch of images and decided to sort of drop them there, but we don't have any. We don't have much of a PR strategy really. We just feel like let the game do the work basically, and then
Yeah,
we'll open up after a while and start showing stuff or teasing out stuff. I'm sure, but we don't really have that sort of hardcore sort of PR drive where we plan that type of stuff. But
I think at this point you are at a point where you can get away without like a sort of big PR thing. Essentially, at this point you are known enough that as soon as you release it, a lot of people are going to be talking about it. It will sell itself essentially.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, people will hear about it.
well, hoping that Payday, knowing that Payday will of course help out like that community and the
Yeah.
of course it's a similar. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of people from that community who will like our game, but at the same time I'm sure that there's gonna be a bunch who don't. But we really feel that we should make the thing that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't live on that. The sort of like try to make something that the Payday community will like and then live
Yeah.
off of that. I'd rather make something.
That a
Yeah.
new community will enjoy.
Yeah. Whatever.
You're a new company, so yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I don't want to live on old merits much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be stupid and not say I'm something that I'm not. Like I've worked on the game and I'll say that, and I'll be around the Payday community still, as long as there's an interest. But it's just that I don't want to live on that. I'd
Yeah.
rather make
Yeah.
something new that people.
You don't want to be known for just Payday. You want to be known for making a bunch of things.
Yeah, basically, I think so.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
I'd rather have the work speak for itself than the like one project. You know?
Yeah. I think me and Bob both kind of understand in a different way what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It's better to be known as like this person for doing many great things, not just one thing, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't. I've never been in into the fame game. Like I just got a Twitter account like a couple of months ago, like 2 months ago or something like that.
I remember trying to hunt you down ages ago on Twitter. I could never find you.
No, I wasn't there. I didn't even have Facebook, man. So
Really out of the social media game then.
yeah, completely. It didn't interest me at all, and it still doesn't.
You could just like get a Snapchat or something. Then when you're on site, and you could just post ambiguous photos on Snapchat instead.
I think Treyarch did that for Call of Duty.
Hey, it worked for Treyarch.
Yeah. Talking.
But I just rather do something that's really cool and let the game be the thing that people talk about.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think there is one question that I need to ask. I don't know how much of the technical side you're going to talk about right now.
Yeah.
Game engine.
Can't say right now. But it's a different engine than Payday, of course. Like that.
Okay.
Engine.
Okay. That's what I was. That's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah. I used to own that engine, but I sold it to Starbreeze when we got bought by Starbreeze, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diesel's good, but it has its moments.
No comment.
No. I like Diesel is a good engine. I think it's just kind of at this point. I think a lot of people will agree with the way Payday 2 development has gone. It's kind of gotten to the point where the Diesel engine can't really support the game anymore, just because of how big it got, how much stuff got put into it.
I always consider engines, especially nowadays, like in the beginning of 3D gaming, the engine was everything, you know. But now it's not the case. Like there's so many engines.
A lot of it gets rewritten as well.
Yeah, and it's really like just a screwdriver or a wrench, you know. It's who is using it and how they're using it.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. I still believe that you could take like a good developer, give him the Quake World engine or Quake 1 engine, and they can do good stuff. I mean, it's still very good stuff.
I have one more question about Payday while we're on the topic of Diesel.
Yeah.
The cloakers.
Yeah.
I know originally they were taken out, and I will admit I was one of the people who were kind of like, oh, why aren't they in the game kind of thing.
Yeah.
And is there any particular reason? Like, do you know anything about why they're still a bit of a mess at times?
The fact is, I haven't played the game for a long time. We can go into why a bit later in this discussion because it starts to get. Yeah, it's a long rant, but
that's exactly what we're here for.
Yeah, but what I remember was because you're referring to Payday the Heist, right? That being out, or did you?
No, it's Payday 2 because when it first came out, the cloakers didn't exist. They were on cards and everything, but they weren't there.
They weren't there. I'm guessing that. That's because just a quality issue. What I can remember, I think we had a lot of issues of them running through floors when they went. When they went for the. They sort of had this kill sprint. They would skip through stuff.
Yeah.
They would also attack you from like a floor below.
And I think towards the end of when I sort of stopped playing, they had what I like to call the kill waddle, where they just sort of slowly walk up to you and you'd suddenly be on the ground.
It was a mess, but it was funny at times.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think also, I mean, it goes to show sort of people don't games evolve in a lot of ways, and Payday 2 is a very good example of that. and my first experience of seeing it firsthand, because it evolves from its being released and how people play it to now is very different.
Oh yeah.
And I think people who comes into the game now has a very different experience than people who bought the game.
Yeah.
So you get a very splintered, maybe invisibly splintered in many ways, but like still splintered community who's actually wants different things or enjoys different things.
Yeah.
Because it's been around for such a long time now, and it's gone through a lot of different, with all the DLC and stuff like that. It's sort of turned into something else. I'm not saying bad or better or worse or anything. It's just a different.
It is amazing because I've played since the first one.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to think the first one felt really arcade, like an Xbox arcade or a PlayStation like store title.
Yeah.
And it's gone from that to a game with a proper release with a disc, and it's gone on for about 2 or 3. No, it's 2 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah. And it's still got another 2 years left of development, I believe.
Yeah,
Did you ever expect it to get this far?
If I was working on it, I wouldn't want it to go that far. But I'd rather do like a third or something like that, because I'm not.
You know what? I kind of always said I kind of wish they'd stop adding to the second and produce a third instead.
Yeah, it's that, but that's just a preference. I think you have.
It's like a TF2 model at this point, which is fine.
Yeah. It's just for me developing more than. In many cases, I don't care about, and not to sound like a fucking asshole, but I don't care about the guys playing it as much, because if I'm not sort of stimulated when I make shit, it's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
So then I have to care about that firsthand in a lot of cases. Not all the cases, especially not towards the end of a game or when you do maintenance and stuff like that. But I'd rather design something that's meant to expand a bit, and that it's part of the overall design. That it's not like a add-on thing, rather something that will expand over a year or something like that, where you're actually still developing or still adding to the game, but more from a planned angle, where it's still fun to do.
But kind of like Payday the Heist with the Wolf DLC.
Yeah, a lot of people refer to that DLC as something good, which is fun.
I actually don't own that DLC, but like I like the idea behind it, because it was just a small bit of DLC which just added a new layer to the game, and essentially, when you got the base game, you essentially had the same game after that DLC, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
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 There's issues with that DLC though, in my opinion, which I hated when it got released. Yeah, and it's the grenade launcher.
How so? I'm kind of curious.
From a balancing standpoint, suddenly I was, very, very picky with not introducing too much military stuff, because as soon as you do, it stops being Heat and it becomes like Call of Duty instead. And I like to have the experience to be as close to, the intro to Batman or Heat. Like that's like two things. So when you start to drift from that, it's a very slippery slope. After a while, you're not robbing banks with just bank robbers in clown masks. It's actually clowns robbing banks, and it's a very different thing.
Yeah,
in my opinion. So it's a directional thing where if you direct a title, you need to be very picky with staying consistent.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think I said that like going back to the whole Payday 2 thing as well. I remember when I believe it was the rocket launcher got introduced.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, this is getting a bit crazy. Then there was like the bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like.
It went from.
I never played with those.
Yeah,
Like,
like a lot of people argued with me on it, but I did kind of get to the point where I said this is just kind of ruined the immersion for me.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't even like I don't own that DLC or anything, so I don't even know. I tried
I
to stay away from from it.
I honestly would have assumed you would have just inherently just had all the DLC for free.
I don't think so. I'll check. Um,
So when did you stop playing Payday? Around what type of
no,
content?
I seem to have all the DLC. Yeah, you're right.
I say it'd be a bit weird if you
Yeah.
the company
No,
didn't get
it
their own
wouldn't
stuff.
surprise me, but it's no, I have a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get removed from some list somewhere and not have it anymore because I said that. But anyway, uh,
I would be very interested in seeing footage of you playing the game now, since I don't know when the last time you played it was, but like just comparing it to the last time you played.
oh,
I would honestly pay to see that. I think
yeah,
it would be interesting.
yeah, yeah. The thing is, like, there's a lot of stuff that could be that people ask me to say or do, or that they'd like me to, can we play Payday together or whatever, and I feel like if I don't have anything positive to say, I'd rather
Yeah.
not say anything
Yeah,
because it's like I'm
I
not
can,
part of that project much, and anymore. I mean, at all, and it's just, I'd let those guys do that stuff. I think they have problems enough as it is.
yeah,
So I'm not gonna,
yeah,
I'd rather stay on the positive, if
yeah,
I can.
and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
And focus on what you're doing. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can imagine
But
during.
ask me again in a year. We'll see. Yeah, I think I just need to distance myself even more and see
yeah,
and enjoy it again. Basically, it would be awesome to see like a Payday 3 someday. See what
yeah.
that.
Oh,
I, I,
definitely.
I would like to see that. But like, this is just me talking personally. I think Overkill has a few issues they'd probably want to iron out before that happens. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know which ones though.
I don't. I'd
I
say not get into this conversation.
Yeah,
Because this
I
is
don't
an
really
old
want to put
topic.
I don't really want to put you in a spot that tarnishes at your reputation or anything. So I'm gonna.
You can ask me anything. I'll just
Oh,
avoid. I'll
oh,
tell you when I can't answer, and that's that.
although you did say something about a rant about 10 minutes ago that I'm very curious to hear now.
Oh yeah,
Well, it not necessarily a negative rant, but no. We talked about why I haven't played the game before much. That's
Yeah.
the rant I was referring to. We can go there soon. Did you have any more questions for me?
Uh, I think besides stuff about 10 Chambers, there is one question which I just thought of a little bit earlier. We asked this to Pete Gold when we interviewed him, but he didn't know the answer for sure. So at the start of Payday 2's development cycle,
Mm-hmm.
obviously like in the beta and everything, Hoxton's voice was obviously he had his reused Pete Gold lines, but he also had some of the Derek Ray lines, and eventually he just got swapped out by with Derek Ray. Now, when we asked Pete about this, he said he just straight up just wasn't contacted to return as Hoxton.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of wondering, what happened with that? What influenced that decision?
Yeah. Oh, let's see now. What I can remember, it has to do with the web series stuff, something like that. Like the character was supposed to be American now or something, and so they had to recast him, and they wanted to do it with an American voice, something like that.
So essentially,
I had the bigger fish to fry at that point, so
Yeah.
or however you may put it. But I had bigger issues at that time, so I don't think I fought enough to keep him. I know my opinion on it, But
Again,
I
I'm
think
actually
the
just-
community took the fight off your hands for that one and won it. So end
But
of the
you know-
day, he's there again, so I'm
Yeah,
fine with it.
yeah,
The reason I think it's very important with Hoxton as he was the distinction he had, like the fact that he was British and everything like that. They just
Yeah.
made him stick out. Like that's why we had the different sort of tones of voice and different masks and everything. It's just to um, uh, be able to hear. If I'm playing Hoxton, you know exactly when I'm down. You know, that's really important.
Mm.
So with more characters and more voices or similar voices, a lot of games suffer from this, where it's like they're all, you know, stubbly, brown-haired.
and you can't really tell the
Jake
difference.
Steele,
Yeah.
and he has the same fucking voice, and they all have the same voice. So
Yeah, I think there's a lot of games I play where I kind of like run around. Like it doesn't happen much anymore because I've become a little bit more competent with gaming in the last few years. But I know there's a lot of games I've like played in the past where I've just been kind of like, who are my allies? Who's the enemy? You know?
yeah,
Who's this guy? Don't remember him. He was in the earlier cutscene. I don't remember that
Yeah.
because he looks the same as like the three other guys I saw afterwards.
yeah, I had something like that in the Phantom Pain, where it's like I can't tell the difference between two characters.
Oh yeah, because like base management and all the guards look the same.
Yeah, well, just how they sound too.
Yeah.
Everybody's a gruffed up dude, but I think it's harder for Japanese to make that because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
If I can see that happening. You know?
I think the only other game that's attempted it but hasn't done it, done it well, but not as good as Payday, would probably be Killing Floor at this point.
Mhm.
But they're normally going
I
with.
saw that on Twitter. I think it was today or yesterday that they have like a Swedish guy who makes Payday references. I don't know if that's accurate. But
I wouldn't know myself. I'll have to look into it in a bit.
But you
somebody
said
said that.
you mentioned the web series earlier. Something's got me curious. I mean, this was always it was a small fan theory, which I think it might have been something that the developers snuck into the game intentionally. Obviously, the web series sort of ended haphazardly, but one of the big things was there was a female cop in the web series. I remember, and at the start of the Hoxton's breakout heist, day 2. When you're running into the sort of the big room where Hoxton hacks the computers, there is actually a female cop who has stunning resemblance to her, and I think that's the only time that model appears to the game. Is that actually supposed to be the same person? Does she canonically just die there at that point?
This is post me being involved at all. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just I have no idea, but I
Yeah.
can imagine that. I mean, a lot of things during development isn't planned. You just make it so that it looks planned,
Yeah.
and then some smarty pants might, announce that it is planned and claim that it is planned. I don't know
So it was just kind of snuck
if
in
they've
there.
done if they've done it in this case, but just to reflect on development in general, like you roll with, like a lot of ideas come after the fact, and then you just try to keep a straight face and deliver on it.
I'm actually trying to see if I can find a picture of it right now. Uh, let's have a look here. Oh yeah, I found the image. I'll post it in the Skype if either of you want to take a look.
Oh right.
Yeah, that thing. The guy was in there too, apparently.
I didn't realize the guy was in there. I knew.
I forgot the guy was in there. So I don't think he appeared as much.
Yeah, there is similarities, I guess.
Yeah, and like I in my head canon's always been that was just sort of snuck in there intentionally.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was like someone bigger overkill, or if it's like one of the developers just kind of like did it in their free time, just like it shipped without anyone realizing. But I always liked that idea.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that.
Looking
That's
at this picture, I have one question to ask about player models.
Oh,
Why
God.
is it? Now, I find it more amusing than like, oh my god, this is just like game breaking. But every character, including civilians, the heisters, and cops, have this like blank death stare on their face the entire time.
Yeah, it's because the eyes doesn't move. That's the issue.
Are they just kind of like textured on instead of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
being
yeah.
direct line?
Yeah.
For example,
If
if
they
you,
haven't changed it by now, but we didn't have time
no,
to do it, so
it's
we
still
didn't do it.
the same. It's like if
Yeah.
you're stealthing
Yeah.
and someone stays unmasked. For example, Wolf, and you walk around the corner and you just got Wolf staring directly into you. It is one of the weirdest experiences to have in a game. I think it's Wolf, Bonnie, and probably Jira at this point who have the best like stare into nothingness.
I think 2 of those heists came after
Yeah.
you were done with development. So yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. I think that's the case. Like, since it's textured on, if it's not perfect in the model, it's gonna look fucking retarded. You know.
Yeah.
That's the issue. But that's the issue with a lot of games that doesn't move the eyes. But and even if you do, I remember Half-Life 2 when it came out. It was awesome with all the lip syncing and the eyes and everything. And I still, to this day, don't think that there's many games that do it better
Yeah.
than that. Like,
I mean,
it's
I think the thing with Half-Life 2 is I've messed around with like Source Filmmaker and the Source Engine
Yeah.
a little bit and what have you, and they actually do have like a phenomic track, so you can run any bit of you can run a voice line through there, and essentially it just dynamically models the place.
But you still have to do the emotion and the blinking
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And in game, it will adapt to where you are and where the characters,
That's one thing.
which is
like-
also cool.
yeah, I like that kind of like dynamic.
I
there
remember someone attempting that for Payday before they got, I think it's Coyote Mation,
Mhm.
to do the trailers. The Big Bank one, they attempted to put facial animations in. It looked really awkward at points. I think it's the smile and bobblehead Bob was the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was like that just became a meme. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one other question before we let you go on your little rant from earlier.
No, yeah, I do. It's
So,
I
as
don't
you
have to. Yeah.
as you you've left the voice acting area for Payday.
Yeah.
Is there anybody you would like to replace you? 'Cause I think they said they were looking into finding a separate voice actor for you.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be. It's
We
gonna
asked
be-
the same question to Pete Gold, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard. It's always hard not saying that I'm like the best actor in the world, because I'm not. But
But it's kind of like that character was you, and you don't know who
I'm
can
gonna
like
miss
replicate
I
it.
Wolf.
because people have played like 2,000 hours or something, some guys, and it's just like,
Myself.
yeah, if it was me, I wouldn't touch it. But I'm sure if you want to do updates, that
Yeah.
you'd like to. So I'd rather try to strike a deal with the guy who
I mean, I
who
think
did the voicing for it.
I think Team Fortress 2. I think the engineer still has his original lines. I think a lot of his new lines are voiced by someone else now, aren't they? I'm sure.
No, what you're thinking of is the trailer for the bread update. And this is actually something I was going to say, but the voice actor for the soldier when he shouts is Nolan North. That would be the only person I would be slightly okay with Wolf being replaced by. Anybody else, I'm going to hate.
Yeah, I think you have to find somebody who does a much better job at the acting part, because that part I suck at, and then you at the same time who can deliver on the screaming parts. Because I think that's from what I can gather, is what people
That's
enjoy.
That's what people love.
Yeah, so which I think is a fairly hard target to hit, because a lot of voice actors and actors aren't ready to destroy their vocal cords, because it's their job, it's their bread and butter. They can't just go in and destroy them. I don't care. So for me,
Will you,
it's
in
easier.
your next game in 10 James, will you be doing any voices for that?
I'm sure I'm going to be doing some stuff. Yeah, sure.
Mm.
Why not? I probably won't. I mean, from a quality standpoint, I probably won't be doing any characters, but probably more along the sort of enemy stuff, or we
You're
have
the
a
main villain.
we have a bunch of interesting situations where we can. I'm sure we can use my talents, which is not like drama, but yeah, I'm sure we're gonna record some stuff. If not for fun, I mean it's a lot of fun to do.
I think my favorite line from Payday 2. I think it was actually an unused line. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's one of the cops shouting like "fucking space guns," and it was like supposed to be a reaction to one of the turrets or something. I think that's probably my favorite line. So my one request is that you find some way just to fit that line in there, even if it's just an Easter egg.
Fucking space guns. Yeah.
I don't remember what the exact line was. I'm sure someone who listens to this will correct me on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that's, I think, hilarious or whatever. It's there's a lot of ad lib in that game where
Yeah.
especially with the characters where it's like you have the same line and you do as many variations as you can on like fuck, I need ammo. And
Yeah,
then it's like,
I
okay,
remember.
do 10 of those.
Yeah, I
And
remember
then
there was.
okay, so I just improvised 10. And
I,
the other actors has done the same,
I remember there was that one video when Damien was
Yeah.
recording the lines for the Hoxton Breakout trailer, and you just watched him like do like 5 variations of him shouting "Go, go, go!"
Yeah.
I'd hate to be standing next to him when he shouts though, because he sounds so loud. I'd actually be scared. Even with you, for example, if I was standing near you and you started screaming, I'd just fucking panic. But
Yeah, you gotta imagine in your mind that you're in. I always try to imagine that I'm in a lobby robbing a bank, and you imagine, 50 people in front of you, and you try to scream.
Is any of this from like actual experience or?
No comment. But
So-
the 10 Chambers has funding now. No, I'm kidding. It does, but it's not from. Well, anyway. Just how you approach that. So I imagine if you were in a lobby and somebody started screaming like that, that'd be fucking, yeah, that'd be very unpleasant.
yeah.
Put the money in the bag.
Yeah, I should probably go to like Comic-Con and just scream at people in lobbies.
I'm going to Insomnia later this week, so
Oh, okay.
I'll just go there like I'll start screaming at people. Ulf told me to do it.
Yeah, but I should probably come. So I've actually been asked to come and just like show up in a suit, just for fan service.
No,
If
if you
you-
ever were doing it in England, I would hunt you down just to get you to sign my wolf mask. Just warning in advance.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm always at Insomnia. If you ever want a gaming festival to go to, I'm always there. Every single one.
One other thing, 'cause I forgot to ask this to Pete, but because you did voice as well, the pager lines, were those scripted or were they just you could go nuts with what your excuse could be?
Pager lines? Oh, you mean the ones where it's like?
Steve isn't here. Please leave a message after
Yeah,
the beep.
those
Just kidding,
are-
it's Steve.
I mean, Simon and David did some great writing, basically, for
Yeah.
also, but then you riff on top of that, and I think, if I remember correctly, the pager stuff is like 50-50 ad lib, I'd say, where it's just like make something up, and sometimes you come up with some stuff, especially for Wolf because it's in Swedish. Not the pager stuff, but like swear words and certain aggressive taunts and stuff like that. So, I mean, Simon can write it, but David can't. So,
Yeah. What was it like working with David?
he's a great guy to work with. I think we actually, when we started working on Payday 2, we sort of found each other in this. We're having a very similar approach to a lot of stuff. And I think that definitely Payday 2 wouldn't be as good as it is without him. Far from it. For example, skill trees was something that I wanted to have. I wanted to have it in the first game too. We had some sort of excuse for a skill tree in the first game, but the only thing I knew though on Payday 2 was I wouldn't have the time to execute on a skill tree, and it's not necessarily my sort of design area, because I try to minimize, or I try to be as minimalistic as I can be, and skill trees are the opposite, you could say.
Yeah.
And David is really good at that stuff. So
if you like, to be fair, I think the Payday 2 skill tree is pretty sort of minimalistic. Like I remember I was once telling you, Ben, about a concept for a different type of skill tree I came up with.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I don't understand this at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on Reddit, including Bal, who just like, oh, we can have this for a skill tree. And a lot of players like myself are just like, but I don't get it.
No, like I'm talking about the time I affected, like there were like 3 different types of skill points which would let you invest in certain different skills.
Oh, that
one. Yeah.
Probably reason I forgot it.
Skill trees are a lot harder than you think. I mean, it's just making them just a tree is one thing, but then executing on every skill to the point where they're you got to consider that a skill is something first you come up with, where it's like, okay, maybe I can throw bags further, or I can carry another sentry gun, or I can open a safe faster, or whatever. And then when you play it, you realize how much better it is, or if it's crap, or if it's overpowered.
And essentially just make something that runs to your playstyle, which is another nice thing.
Yeah, and then you have to consider the combinations of them too. So it's a hard task to execute on, and it's really easy to offset that balance. And I've seen a lot of junior designers run into skill trees, thinking that is just very easy to do. And like writing one on paper is a completely different thing, and it's I think it's about 5 to 10% of the task.
Yeah.
And then getting that balanced close to okay is fucking hard. So.
And then you just kind of get to the point where everyone's using a dodge build.
Exactly. There's always going to be, issues in there. It's going to be. Depends on what's in it, and who's adding to it. I mean, if somebody adds to a skill tree who hasn't made a skill tree from the start, it's going to be very hard to get.
Yeah, to advance it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I believe probably everyone listening is excited for a certain rant right now. I think it's time we bring out the big guns.
No, it's
the gun with 10 chambers.
No, but I think what were we talking about? We were talking about why I hadn't played Payday 2.
Yeah.
Something like that. And the reason is because I think just when Payday was about to be released, or something, I have a very, very bad memory. I'm not saying negative memory. I'm saying a very cloudy memory of that period of time. I had started getting a lot of depressions from like, I usually had like 1 or 2 a year, and now I started to have 3 to 4, I think I was up to. And I was overworked, really stressed, and also had a bunch of back problems. So I was eating a lot of medication. And some stuff happened. Let's keep it at that.
Yeah.
That got me into basically I woke up one morning and I got a psychosis. Basically, so my brain, it sort of looks like to describe it correctly, it looks like the sequence from Lord of the Rings when Frodo puts the ring on.
Mm.
Sort of that's how it looked for me, and I started to lose like the concept of time and stuff like that. So I could only remember like I think it was, I can't remember now. Was it 20 or 10 or 20 seconds? I don't know, something like that. In a row. I mean, and then it would reset basically, and I couldn't remember again. So I ended up institutionalized in a mental hospital for 2 days. Got out of that, and then stared into a wall for 8 months, basically, having somewhere around 3 to 4 panic attacks a day.
Oh my God.
It was a fucking horror show.
Jesus.
And then I started to sort of after 8 months, I think I was back to starting to try to use like computers again.
Mm.
And then I didn't touch the internet because I didn't want to be exposed to anything that could affect me in any way. So I would just stay at home and you know, program stuff basically. And I'm still, I think now I'm maybe at 80% of capacity, brain-wise. Like I have some issues still, but that's more like damage, and I don't think I can fully recover. But
Yeah.
it's okay though, because I used to have a lot of like sleeping disorders and stuff like that, and most of that's gone now. Not a lot calmer and a lot, you know, I can focus in a different way, sort of. So yeah, so I think I got back into thinking. Well, there was one person who basically left a certain company when he realized that I wasn't gonna be coming back. And then he basically forced me to start working together. So that saved my ass. I can tell you that much. And he's part of the 10 Chambers crew now. So we started doing that, and we started just like working and learning new things. We didn't really have. We had some ideas of what we wanted to do, but we didn't have. We didn't have. Like it wasn't. We didn't have any pressure. Basically, the only pressure I had was, so we got to make something to be able to pay his rent. So, but after I've sold everything I had in Starbreeze this year, I'm, you know, we have funding, etc. So that's why we are also focusing in a different manner. But
Yeah.
I don't even know how many years it's been. I mean, there's been years I can't remember after that. After Payday 2 launched. So for me, I woke up basically maybe, you know, a year after I started to realize how successful Payday 2 had been, basically. And it's been really fun to see sort of how that community has grown and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. But yeah, a bit of a run-in with the mental police, you could say.
Hey Elf, can you do me a small favour?
Yes.
That member of 10 Chambers,
Yeah.
either give him a hug from me or tell him he's a fucking legend.
And give him another one from me.
Yeah. Well, he's it's Tomislav is his name. He's an old. He used to work at Grin too, so he's.
I'm
an
gonna hunt
old-
him down on Twitter now and just like abuse him with love. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
I'm
It was really cool.
I'm searching him right now.
I think it's safe to say from him while Bell's
Found-
doing that, just to
found
give a moment of praise to you. So, Payday 2, well, Payday in general has been quite a big game for me for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it was one of the reasons I started getting interested in games development.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
hearing that
That's
story for one of my idols is really upsetting. But Tommy Slav is a fucking legend. If I say so myself.
Yeah, I found his Twitter also. I'll link you to it after this thing.
Cool. Yeah.
Expect him to come in to work at some point and go, "Oh, who the hell is this guy?"
Who the fuck is this guy? What have you told them? What kind of lies have you told them?
He's got a very interesting Twitter cover banner. I will say that much. I
He's a great guy.
hmm. I guess besides that, I think this is probably the moment where if there's anything you want to say to the community, that the people listening, or if there's anything you want to plug in particular, now's the time to do it.
Uh, I'm not into plugging much, so I'll have to deliver on the game. But if there's an interest in hardcore, sort of a very challenging cooperative experience, people should sign up for the ambassador thing. I think.
Mm.
I think that's a fairly solid plan to have.
Yeah.
But because that's the goal we have. I can't promise that we will deliver, but we'll try as hard as we can, basically.
I'm looking forward
Make
to it.
something. Yeah.
Mm.
Make something interesting. Also, it feels like, I've made so many games by now, so it's I'm at a point where I'm like, I really want to make something that's different and that I can be, really proud of. I'm still proud of what Payday ended up being, but there's so many things or memories I'd like to not have from development, and I'll try to keep this one as clean as possible and just focus on the fun, So
Yeah.
I've gathered like the best people I know so far, from a social standpoint, but also from a sort of skill and potential standpoint, where the social is really important. Like they have to have the right mentality and have, there has to be a mutual respect for each other and stuff like that to make 10 Chambers work, because I don't want to be in the sort of boss situation or any other kind of. I just want to make games with people I enjoy spending time with, basically. Also, I'm thinking about doing a game jam. I don't know. I've never done a game jam. That'd be fucking awesome.
Well, there you go. I guess one of I think this gets asked to every single like game developer who ever has an interview.
Yeah.
But this after like hearing your story as well, like I want to know like for anyone out there who's interested in game development of sort of any sort, what advice would you give them?
Let's see if I can remember the last answer I gave and not give that answer because that would be fucking boring. But I mean, the simple stuff is basically, as with any creative project, it's just trying to do something. Like the first thing you should do is do something, because it's hard enough to just do anything. Just get off your ass and do a mod or just the crappiest game you can imagine. Go through the process, do it, get it released if possible. Just make something. Not aiming to like, oh, I'm just gonna be the next Minecraft, or we're gonna be rich or anything like that.
It's just like you want to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's also like realizing how the process actually looks and what it all entails, because it's not just making the game; it's just a part of it. And just finishing a game, or there's so many things that process will teach you. And then when you've done that, then you can start designing the game you want to make, because the game you think you want to make, like the first one, is probably not the game you actually you're actually going to complete.
It's like it's going to go for a lot of. I think like what you said, a lot of stuff changed throughout development for you.
Yeah, and also like the first time try making something, you have no idea of how to make a game. So how could you possibly design something that's gonna be able to that's I mean there's examples of people just sitting down and doing it once and it was all fantastic and they got 40 billion trillion, but that's not you
That's
can't sort of
that's a 1 million thing, sort of thing.
yeah, if even, you know. And usually the people making something that actually hit it off and making something themselves nowadays, they're usually I wouldn't say like senior developers because they're usually too jaded to do anything themselves, but
Yeah.
like somebody who's been around the development circles and seen at least one game finish, you know. And it doesn't really matter what part you know, like if you're a programmer or if you're an artist or anything like that. You just need to, you know, modify the first project to fit what you can do, or to the point where you need to learn the least amount of stuff to be able to complete it. It's really boring to say, but keep the fucking awesomest idea, and that's maybe that idea you have had from childhood that you know it's going to be the most awesome game. Make that your second game.
Yeah. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of problems with the first sort of thing.
Yeah, just getting your head around what it actually means to make something. And I think it's the same can be applied to a record or to a book or whatever. You just, you know, do something the first time, something easy, and then go for the passion project, like the second loop, I'd say.
Yeah.
Today's market is really interesting though because you can release stuff yourself. You don't need to have a publisher.
Yeah.
Which is when I sort of started with games, publishers was the key. They controlled everything. That's not the case anymore. At all, actually.
So,
you still need. I mean, if you want to sell, you know, 100,000 or 200,000 copies of something, you should probably have some sort of PR going for you, in some way. Depends on how charismatic you are and what kind of approach you have to social media, of course. But like, if you don't have any track record, there's gonna be that kind of stuff too. But other than that, you don't need a publisher, in my opinion. If you look at Steam or PlayStation, it's like you okay for PlayStation. You still have to make a couple of deals and stuff like that. But like for Steam, it's so easy, and the user base is so massive.
I think developing. I'm not a developer myself, but I think a lot of people say developing for PC is a lot easier anyway.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a lot easier. There's some stuff you can argue, but like if you make, let's say if you make like a AAA super optimized, super high-end game, it's going to be easier on console if you focus on one console, because you know the hardware specs, and if it runs, it runs. While on PC, if you're trying to really squeeze the last drop out of something, and that something is a moving target, that's going to be a lot of work. But if you make like a platformer or something, like these indie retro games or anything like that, PC is a very good platform to start on, because it will run on anything. It will run on a toaster by today's standards.
Yeah.
So I think, the best way of becoming a developer right now, I think, is go into the asset store, Unity asset store, or Unreal asset store, the Unreal Engine stuff. I think the Unity stuff is a bit broader though. You just loop through that, check out something that you think could be altered to become a game, and then alter it to become that game you want to make now. And then just try to release that, and just make it as small as you can.
Yeah,
basically.
I know Ben started, and I've honestly considered recently as well making it. Ben did a source map for Left 4 Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
He ported the Go Bank from CS:GO,
Mm-hmm.
and that was actually a labor of love because of how much he loved it in Payday 2 as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But no, I've honestly considered that, and I don't know. Would you say like that's kind of like a good place to start? Like you were saying, like sort of make a mod, whatever. Do you think that's like a sort of good sort of stepping
A
stone?
mod
Like it,
is also, I mean, at least you can release it and you can see how it sort of, what kind of traction it gets, and actually then you have to complete something too. So I
Mm.
think a mod is very good too. Like there's studios built on the mods.
Killing Floor is a perfect example for that because Tripwire first made Killing Floor as a mod years
Yeah.
ago
Yeah.
for Unreal Tournament, and now look at Killing Floor 2. That's mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
The similar stuff could be said about Call of Duty, you know. It's more like a mod in the beginning. Like if you take the first game.
Yeah.
And even Team Fortress 2, I believe, started as a mod, didn't it?
Yeah, Team Fortress definitely a mod. Yeah.
Almost all of
Yeah, Team
Valve's games
Fortress
were mods originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least the after Half-Life, there's a lot of that stuff happening.
Mm.
But yeah, and it's not no shame in that. I mean, if you see something that's awesome, you should pick it up. Bigger companies have also an issue, especially flat structures. Company structures have an issue of just agreeing on stuff. So I think taking something from the outside that everybody likes is easier. So I think that's why they end up doing that. But I wouldn't know because I don't work at Valve. But but I can imagine. Yeah, but there's so many things. Like, yeah, I've been doing this so many years. I think it's a lot of work making a game. Usually, it's not like the glamorous stuff.
Mm.
Really. I think community managers are the glam stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, I can sit around in a, chatting to people all day or like just tweeting all the fucking time. But in real life, it's just a different beast. Especially if you're starting a new company and have no money, you gotta work your ass off.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, I see all these discussions about overtime at companies, working overtime, that is. And it's just like, yeah, if you can avoid working overtime, that's one thing. But if you're like a new company, if you're young and it's a new company and you're making something out of passion and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, the only thing to compensate the lack of knowledge with is time.
Mm.
So it's going to be a lot of crunching. But the sad thing is, if you move it up into that company becomes a bigger company, that crunch culture is retained because management has learned to plan around crunching. And it's not the new guys who's on that project. They don't do it necessarily for passion. Maybe they wanted to, but they get taught not to. They do it for money after a while because it becomes a profession and it becomes something that's supposed to be, an industry. I just sat down with a new publisher, actually, like a retro publisher, and talked about this. We didn't intend to talk about this, but we ended up talking about it. Like, I think it was Friday. Yeah, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically where the gaming business has really tried hard to become an industry and forgot the fact that it's the best stuff is made on passion, and it's really important for the industry to be taken serious and to become like this stock market bullshit, in my opinion, where it's like, do some fucking awesome. When I played games when I was a kid, the ones I remember is the passion stuff. That's what I remember. I couldn't give a fuck about, Yeah, well, insert action game title here, 2017. I don't care about those. Like, I don't care. That's mass market and blah blah blah. And it's like it's not like I frown upon mass market. It's just that when you have the goal of making a market product, you're talking about products, and it's sort of like I just want to make something that's cool to play, that I want to play, and I want to see people play it and enjoy it. That's why I make shit.
Like what you were saying earlier when we first started, like when I asked about what made you want to, well, what got you into gaming, like making
exactly.
games, like Another World, for example. It's a short game,
Yeah.
but it's still an amazing game to play, and it's made by like a couple of people.
Yes, it's two. One programmer, artist, designer, and one musician.
So basically, everyone should go play Another World. I think I just got that got Steam released a little while ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's this graphical update, which I think is made by the actual creator.
Yeah.
Just turn that shit off and play the original.
Definitely. It looks better on the original.
Yeah.
His second game, I can't remember what the game's called, but it's for the PlayStation 1.
Heart of Darkness?
That's the one. I want that to have a re-release, because damn.
Yeah, that was a nice game, though.
That was evil, that game.
Yeah. It was really cool, especially for its time.
Is that where you're aiming to go with your hardcore co-op shooter?
Heart of Darkness. Yeah. I'm buying the IP and making an IPO. Yeah. I want to be 600 people. 600 chambers. No. Really flat.
Just like pulling out like some sort of revolver, 600 chambers.
Yeah, no. I just want to make shit that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'd rather do something else. And if I was doing it for the money, and this has always been the case, and the reason why I never really agree with suit and tie people, it's like I don't do it for the money. If it was the money, then I could make something, work with something else and earn more money.
Yeah.
There's other businesses that are safer and leave me a lot more free time that I can make a lot more money of if money was the case. But like, it's such a privilege to work with something creative, especially something creative that you're also sort of good at.
Yeah.
It just feels like, at this point, it's almost like if I ever think about quitting making games, it feels like I have to do it because I'm being such a fucking asshole if I don't. Because I'm so privileged to be able to. If I just lean back and say, "Oh, I don't want to," because then I'm the biggest asshole. So that's one of my motivations, I think. It's really cool to be able to do that, to have some stuff in your life that you can be passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something. I'm sure you guys enjoy doing this, for example, or
Oh, definitely.
you have something that you can sort of go, oh, this is cool. I like this.
I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, I've said this to a lot of people before, but for example, one big thing a lot of YouTubers do is they monetize their content, and I've been asked a few times why I haven't monetized mine, even though I viably could, and I've just kind of said, I just do it for fun. I don't care about money. I think that's it. It's not quite on the same level, but I think it's kind of the same concept, if you know what I mean.
I do, but I don't do it for personal gain. I do it to put back into it. If that makes sense.
I think it's fine if you monetize. That's fine if you do it for the right reasons.
Like I have a normal job. I will use my money from my normal job for my
let's
life.
Let's say you monetized and you got to do this full time. Then that's not bad. That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. Then you're doing something cool, and people seem to like it, and they're ready to pay for it in some shape or form.
It's just a case of making sure it doesn't like turn into you're doing it just for the money, though.
The day I sell out is the day I want barrel. I think we said this. If we ever cock up somewhere, we're gonna hit each other in the face.
Yeah, like we've literally made that promise.
Because there's big YouTubers out there who we used to love who've just fucked up basically. The same goes with game companies, really, because it's like that. Once you, like what you were saying earlier, the moment you since they're in it for the money, starts to derail. And
Yeah.
depending on how they approach it, depends on how quick it goes.
Yeah. But I mean, if you give somebody who's doing it for the passion, you give them a bunch of cash, they can do crazy shit. So,
Yeah,
I mean, money isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. I mean, it enables creative dudes or whoever to do quality content, whatever that is.
yeah.
But so
Just
that's not.
depends what they do with the money. I think.
Yeah, but it's a case where it's if you start altering the content to generate more money, then it's not passion anymore.
Yeah.
If you're not passionately wanting to get more money, of course, then that's fine too.
I think Call of Duty would be a perfect example for that. It went from being, I would admit, I still play it today, shoot me.
Yeah.
But Call of Duty, like I think World at War was the last amazing one,
Mhm.
and then because it went into the year cycle of each year, there was a new one, and they just hired a new developer to make one like a 3-year cycle.
Yeah, but I think that's the issue right there, right? So you take a decision to say, okay, if we're making this amount of money, we can make this amount of money more often. Okay, let's do that. That's the first issue, right? That's still
Yeah.
you can still do that. Find somebody who's passionate about it, blah blah blah. But the problem is, for me, if we take the Modern Warfare, Call of Duty stuff, is basically I fucking love Modern Warfare 1 and 2 and all the Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 1 and 2 for me is like the the peak
Yeah.
on a death match like and a single player military shooter or any single player so far for me in that sense of like sort of popcorny sort of easy but it still did a lot of stuff that I would to this day not consider sort of copying out or anything. They did
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff in there that still sort of
It's
grows and fuck a bunch of storytelling rules,
Yeah.
which I love that they do. But the fact is this, I think, that if you take that game and you say, okay, this one was a big hit, now we're gonna make it's the same brand, but you take different people, and they have to make that game. So problem is like they might be passionate, but they don't have the same personalities, so they can't make the same game. They can't. They should make their own thing.
Yeah.
Then I'm sure that would have been fucking awesome too. But for me, it's like when I play Modern Warfare 1 and 2, and then I play like the third or the the Black Ops stuff or anything like that, it doesn't feel the same for me. Still good games, but not nearly as good as.
I'm kind of like that with Assassin's Creed as well. I never really liked the games, but Do you know anything about Assassin's Creed?
Oh yeah,
Black
absolutely.
Flag is the only one I consider good, but it's not for the assassin stuff. It's the pirating.
Yeah, so
But
yeah,
because it has the Assassin's Creed name, it's got all the gimmicks from it.
I'll give you a virtual high five right now. Did you feel that high five?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
It felt good.
Yeah,
He's never washing his virtual hand again.
it's virtual will never be washed. I guess you can just copy it and then clean the copy or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I completely agree. Like I'm a big fan of pirates in general, games, movies, whatever. I fucking love pirates, and Black Flag for me was like one of the better games I've played in a long time. I played that motherfucker to death.
Yeah.
I played it on console, and I've also played it on PC a lot. Which is like, it might look different, so I'll play it. So,
I've
it's
never
to that
beaten the
point,
main
like,
story. I just played in the pirate ship and just explored.
I did everything, like everything. I didn't get the really big ships. I think I've lost momentum at that point, but or I was not good enough, I think, or something like that. But
Yeah.
but you're right there. It's like it's not good because of the Assassin's Creed stuff. It's sort of good because of all the other stuff.
It showed the devs had a passion for something, but because they're stuck down to the title of Assassin's Creed,
Yeah.
they couldn't expose it fully.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of that story, but I can't talk about it, sadly.
Yeah. And you mentioning as well, saying you like pirates a lot. Am I sensing at some point Ten Chapers is going to make a pirate game?
Oh, I
I
love
would be
that.
I would be fine with that. I mean, I'm not
There'd
just
be a
trying to.
lot there'd be a lot of revolvers.
Oh,
That'd be
definitely.
great.
A lot.
Maybe someday I'll make a pirate game, but
You've heard it here first.
If there isn't a pirate captain called Sir Cracker
actually,
Bob, I'm going to be so disappointed.
a lot of people who knows me, who doesn't know what I'm working at, they always guess pirate game. Oh, it's gonna be pirate game. You always reference pirates, like you. But it right now the game I'm working on now is not a pirate game. It's not. So
It's a game about ninjas instead.
I always wanted to make a ninja game too, actually. So, but there's yeah. But I'm actually not making like a, a a game that has a theme that I've always dreamed about doing.
Yeah.
Really, this game is more about the how you play it.
I mean, I'm guessing, obviously, since you're like taking a lot of reference photos, doing a lot of visits, it's going to be. I know you probably can't talk about it, but it's probably going to be like a sort of modern day theme again.
It's a sci-fi thing, but
Uh-uh.
what I like to do, and this is something that since we're a collective, this is something we do decide together. But I'm sort of the creative controller, or I guess director in on this game. Doesn't mean I take all decisions. Just means that I'm in charge of just keeping the overall sensibilities or whatever that we agree on together, basically. But so for my part, what I enjoy making is stuff that isn't necessarily like super far out there sci-fi stuff, but it's like enough sci-fi to get you space to do some cool storytelling and also bend a lot of the rules of reality in a sense, and also open up for a lot of gameplay.
I'm just thinking. I started playing Xenoblade Chronicles X there. I think I'm thinking that's kind of a similar concept where it's a space game, but it's still sort of Earth rooted. It's just kind of in the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of values to that where it's like if you do something that's completely sci-fi, you gotta sell that whole thing. And if it's not perfect, it's not gonna fly. Like that's why it's so hard to make like a Star Wars movie or a space movie or a space game or anything like
You
that.
need to create your own sense of immersion, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta sell the world to the point where you believe in it enough to be emotionally attached. And it's so much easier with if you say Payday, for example, where it's based on real places or something. If you walk into a bank lobby, you've been in a bank lobby. Like you can refer to that. So there's a lot of values there that gets players or readers or viewers or whatever medium you're in. You get them straight into the sort of the theme very very quickly, and you get them emotionally attached very very quickly too. So it's actually just less work. It's just like knowing that it's so hard to make like a real sci-fi. I wouldn't say real sci-fi, but like a complete sci-fi where it's like Mass Effect or something like that. It's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Very very hard. I have the utmost respect for people who actually manage to execute on that, and it's a full-time job too. And from our point of view, we'd like to focus more on gameplay. And we're a fairly small team, so we need to be smart about our production, basically. That's why it's, for example, post-apocalyptic stuff is also very similar in the sense of you can relate to all the items you can see, but they're placed in situations that are new for you.
So essentially kind of like Fallout in a way.
Exactly. For me, the good bits of Fallout. I'm a big Fallout fan, by the way. But the best pieces are the actual, a city made out of cars or something like that.
Yeah.
Like repurposed stuff rather than the sci-fi, vault stuff or things that are completely sort of completely fictional. They don't.
So essentially, not so much sci-fi, more sort of dystopian kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. But there's also this Scandinavian thing where it can probably get fairly dark in a sort of thematic way. This new game, because it's where we're at, sort of where our taste buds are at. If we go for something dark, Scandinavians usually deliver on something way too dark. So we'll see how that ends up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know you can't talk a lot about the game now, but down the line when it's closer to the release, would you be interested in coming back so we can talk more about the game?
Yeah, sure.
From what you said now, I'm actually really interested in it.
Yeah, like it's just kind of got me like saying, "Oh, I want to see some stuff already."
I want to see some stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's also an internal discussion we have where it's like, you know, a lot of developers right now, they have a lot of visibility. Like, you can see the whole development process, you can see everything
Yeah.
that's happening, and they're publicly arguing why they would do X and Y and Z, and or actually do polls on what they should do and stuff like that. And most of that is to build like a fan base. Sadly, I mean, not
Yeah.
sadly. I mean, it's good for the fan base. They love that shit. So
The thing is,
they'll
though, you
eat
got
it
to be
up.
careful with that because this is your game at the end of the day. It's not
Yeah,
we
that's
play it, but we shouldn't have to a point. There's certain games out there in early access which have been swaying to a point where they're pretty much bad now because they're not what the developer wanted.
yeah, but it's their own fault, I guess, for
Yeah.
listening to too many people. But I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to your community. It's just that
There should be a limit.
I think for me, when I play games, if I see a movie and I know the ending, that's gonna suck. That's a good reference. Like, I don't want to know how the movie plays out. I want to be surprised. I want it to be when I leave the cinema. Like when I saw Matrix the first time, I left the cinema having like 4 versions of where the sequel would be. You know, then
Yeah.
it ended up being total ass for me. But the first movie was so awesome, and it left me in this sort of. I wanted to know more, and it was so much mystique over the actual movie, and all these questions are really interesting, rather than having it being, you know, I know everything about the game as it is, and I've even seen it being developed. If you see somebody making like a model of something, you know it's a model. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of saying "fuck me," I've never seen that before, or I don't even, you know, because when you make a game, in a movie or anything, you don't want the viewer or the player to realize he's playing a game. You want them to be in the game. You want them to be as much a part of that experience as possible. You want them to believe that they're in the place you're trying to depict. So by showing them how everything is made, you remove all that mystique. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do kind of.
Yeah. So if I know everything, all the components of a movie, if I see the making of before I see the movie, it's gonna not be as good of a movie.
Yeah, we just kind of know like everything like behind it.
And you know how everything was done. So when you see the shot, you don't go, "Oh fuck!" Like that happened. You
It's
go,
like-
"Oh,
it's like what-
that's that shot with the thing."
Again, it's like one of those immersion things.
Exactly. I don't want to use that word because I've heard the word so many times in so many meetings with publishers.
Yeah.
I sort of
I
there's
kind
a
of have-
cancer growing, the immersion cancer on my back, and I don't want to feed it.
Should we come up with a new word for it?
Yeah, we always joke about always before when we talked about publishers. We always joked that it's going to develop into like from being immersed to being submerged and then just merged. Which
I
is,
said it. Let's just call it like Ulversion or something. Ulversion.
you're going to be all furged. Yeah, yeah.
I think one of the things as
Virtualized.
well, like, there's this a little bit similar, but it's not depending on how you look at it, but like with like knowing how it ends or how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm one of those unlucky bastards who had the ending to Fallout spoiled.
Oh, okay. Don't tell me then,
I'm not going to because it
because
ruins the
then I'm
game.
actually gonna come there and kill you. That's
I can't
'cause you,
play the game
I'm
anymore.
gonna sign your wolf mask, but then I'm gonna kill you. So you just have to. Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd be happy or sad about that.
You'd be happy for a very short time. Yeah. Yeah. Keep on going. Sorry
If
for.
you die with a frown, Ben, I'll just put the sign mask on your face and when you're in the coffin.
But yeah,
That's really morbid.
I was watching a stream or something about
Yeah.
another. It was about another interview, but some, pardon my French, twat came in and said, "Oh, this is the ending to Fallout 4." I was like, "Great." So I tried playing it, but because I knew the end, I was like, "This isn't fun anymore."
Oh, yeah.
The sense of mystery is something that I love in games.
Exactly.
Mm.
So, to sort of circle around on this point, it's like it's harder. We're in a discussion now where it's like, how much do we want to show, and what kind of
Yeah.
stuff do we want to show? You know, it's actually very tricky. If you're keen on making something that you get immersed in. Or ulferged.
No, that's an official term now.
Yeah. So if you want to get ulferged, then that's very hard to do, to show everything, because it spoils it, you know. And I'd rather, somewhere I'm like thinking, maybe you can talk about something else and talk about stuff in general, or talk about, you know, why you would make certain choices, but not be so game specific about it. And then do like a fully fledged making of afterwards or something like that, you know. Whereas like people have sort of they've seen all the stuff, they've experienced all the stuff, and now it's sort of that value is gone, you know. But it's hard, you know. It's hard because everybody wants to see the stuff, so it's a hard decision to make.
Yeah.
It's, but probably you can make one game which is a complete lie, and then show everything about that game, and then you release something completely different. That'd be fun.
Isn't that what Phantom Pain did? With their what was it Moby Dick Productions in their trailers?
Yeah, I'm sure they made. Yeah, they Hideo always makes stuff that is fucking with the medium. I think he's really good at that. I really like that stuff.
Did you get Hideo Kojima as one of your members of 10 Chambers?
No. He asked. I said no. I've met him a couple of times, but
Really?
only at like like E3 parties and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So only briefly. Seems like a really nice dude, though.
Talking about Konami, Kojima, did you hear about the award thing recently?
Yeah, but I haven't seen the awards yet. I saw some stuff from it, and but heard they blocked him, or
Yeah, his lawyer, the Konami lawyers, stopped him from attending. And what's actually interesting is that they straight up said that on the stage, that was the reason Kojima didn't attend.
Yeah, one of the hosts said it, didn't they? And then
Yeah,
she was getting a bit of stick from Konami about it.
I say all power. I say all power to him, like for like just saying it straight up. Like, oh, by the way, Konami is the dick here.
yeah.
I think at this point they're done with developing games anyway, so they don't really care what gamers think of them anymore.
You think?
I think so.
They're in the mobile industry now. That's their aim.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess so. But everybody seems to be moving to mobile. It's like when everybody moved to Facebook games.
Oh God! You have no
Facebook
idea
is
how many
90% of the
people
market.
are.
It's like,
You have
what?
no idea how many people have had to block from sending me like Farmville requests. It's ridiculous.
You're lucky you're not on Facebook, Ulf.
I would. Yeah, well, it's not my platform.
Wait until Twitter games becomes a thing.
The thing is, it's like markets don't change much in this business. They just new ones appear.
Yeah.
And then some guy who didn't do his math lessons misinterprets or misuses percentage calculations, where it's like, oh, 90% of the market is over here. But it's like, well, that's a new 90%.
Yeah.
100% is over here.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like, for me personally, I'm pretty old school. I'm still a big fan of the old, like, I'm still a big fan of, like, handheld games consoles. Like,
Mhm. Like
I've got,
DS and stuff like that, or
I've
or
got,
Donkey Kong?
I think
How far back do you go?
I think the only thing I'm missing from my handheld collection right now is the original, like, black and white Game Boy.
Do you have
Because
a Game Gear?
No.
Well, then you're missing something else.
I'm talking, like, because, I collect, I
You're a
personally have a
Nintendo
hobby.
fan.
Yeah, I have a hobby
I
for
have
collecting Nintendo consoles.
I have like I can't see it right now, but
But, like,
I have a game. What's it called? Is it Game Gear? It's a game called Helmet. It actually worked. I had to clean all the electronics and stuff, but I got it working.
yeah.
Not Virtual Boy, is it?
It wouldn't be. But no, personally, I'm like the whole. If it ever comes to the point where like smartphone gaming just like takes over handheld gaming, that's gonna be the day I just sort of lose a passion for gaming. I think if I lose my passion for handheld gaming, like I'd essentially just start losing my passion for PC or console gaming.
Yeah.
What's this?
Scroll down.
Oh, the Game and Watch.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's going back.
So I had to clean the electronics out because it's been an addict for a very long time. But I actually got it working. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
That's one of my first games. Like the Parachute one, and then Donkey Kong was we played when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm old. I'm a dinosaur.
No, to be fair, like I have a I don't know any of the Game and Watch games, but I would like to. They're just so hard to come by.
Yeah, they're really hard, I guess.
I think honestly we might be at a kind of point where it might be a good time to close off the interview. I don't know
Okay.
about if there's anything else. Ben, if you or Ulf, if you wanted to mention.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not gonna mention shit. You guys ask and then I'll answer. This is how this works.
Don't break from the meta.
Exactly.
You'll break the Ulf immersion.
Yeah. Well, I've only answered the stuff that we decided with my lawyers that I could answer. No, I'm kidding.
They were very mean to us before.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. Konami threatened to sue you.
Yeah. They said if we say anything bad, we're gonna get banned.
Yeah, exactly. We'll ban you from the community we don't have. Wow.
We won't be ambassadors. We'll lose our rights.
Exactly. We'll just mail everybody on that list, trying to figure out who you are. Yeah, because I don't know your emails. So I'll just tell everybody to fuck off, basically. That's a good idea. But it was nice talking to you guys. We
Yeah.
should definitely
It was a
do it
pleasure.
again if you want to.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Like, especially
Thank you.
when we start seeing, if we start seeing more stuff from Ten Chambers, I'd love to get you back on here to discuss it.
Yeah.
Especially like what you have told us about the project has got me interested, very interested.
Yeah, well, I think, I really firmly believe in the fact that if I'm interested or the team wants to play the thing, I'm sure that there's more people who wants to. So we're just hoping it's a big enough crowd, But I'd rather make this game and fail than not. So we're at that point where it's like we really want to make this game. So hopefully it will be interesting enough when it's released.
Yeah. Well, with that, as we said, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. If you're not a Ten Chambers ambassador and you listen to this, what are you doing? Go to tenchambers.com. Literally like the digits 10. I don't know if you got the other domain registered, which is TN Chambers. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
Will that work as well?
I'll see.
Well, either way, or
Yeah, it
just
works.
Google search Ten Chambers and become an ambassador. Links for everything, I guess, I think Ben, you're uploading this one. Everything will be in the description.
Maybe. If
I'll
I
make-
remember.
I'll remind you. You don't want to break the Ulf immersion. Come on.
I'll just put a short URL to just a picture of Ulf's face.
Yeah, and just loads of text. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Transcribe the whole interview, please.
We actually did that for the Pete Gold interview. I hired someone.
if
I
we
hired
do that-
someone to do it.
Probably
No,
have to hire someone again because it's like 2 hours.
2 hours of shit. Yeah.
I think last time with the Pete Gold interview, it was literally a half an hour interview. It cost me a fortune.
I can imagine. You don't have to do it with this one, I'm sure. It's
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And I've been Since Pixel with Sir Crackbulb and Ulf Andersson, and good night, everybody.
good night.
Bye bye.